My son skipped his mom's funeral, so I fired him and cut him off. When my wife passed away, my son looked me straight in the eye and said, "You can't bring mom back, and my wife's birthday only comes once a year." The word stung like a slap. The very next morning, he came to me with a big ask, as if yesterday hadn't happened. I saw a chance to answer the insult he'd thrown at me, and at his mother, and I took it. Before I go further, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel and drop where you're listening from in the comments. It helps more folks hear stories like this. My hands shook as I dialed Ryan's number at 8:30 a.m., tightening my black tie for the third time. Linda's last coffee mug sat on the counter, a faint lipstick mark still on the rim. The kitchen sounded hollow without her soft morning humming. For rings, then Ryan's sleepy voice. "Yeah? Son, it's Dad," I said, forcing my shoulders back. The funeral starts at 11:30. Bass-heavy music pounded through the line. Laughter in the background. Brittany's voice cut through the noise about streamers and centerpieces. Ryan cleared his throat. "Dad, I told you yesterday. Brittany's birthday party is tonight. We've been planning it for months." Ice washed through me. I squeezed the receiver. "Your mother's funeral is today, Ryan. You only get one of those. Look, Mom's not coming back, but my wife's birthday happens once a year. We've got the caterer lined up, the band's already set. I appreciate everything Mom did for me for 35 years, but I can't leave Brittany hanging on her big day. You get it, right?" The line went dead. I sat still for a full 3 minutes, staring at Linda's reading glasses by the phone. The clock over the sink read 8:47 a.m. My wedding band caught a bright shaft of sunlight through the windows she'd washed last week. I found the printed program on the counter. Ryan listed as a pallbearer. I took a pen and drew a slow, dark line through his name. At the cemetery, people kept turning, looking for him. "Where's Ryan?" Linda's sister, Diane, asked over and over. I practiced my answer. He had important commitments. The words tasted like metal. 23 people came to honor my wife of 40 years. Our son wasn't one of them. I stood alone at the casket, surrounded by Linda's garden club friends and neighbors from the old days. The space where Ryan should have stood felt like a hole in the ground. "She adored that boy," Mrs. Whitaker whispered, always bragging about how well he was doing. I nodded and couldn't speak. Linda defended Ryan until her last breath. "He's got a lot going on," she'd say when he missed her chemo appointments. "Newlyweds need room." The pastor talked about family ties and love that lasts. I watched the dirt thud onto polished wood, each shovel scraping away not just Linda, but any illusion I had left about our son. Driving home, I choked the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. The passenger seat stretched empty beside me. Linda always pushed for her little Honda instead of my truck, said it was kinder to the planet. The radio played her favorite song. I snapped it off. Our street hadn't changed a bit. Neat lawns, bright mailboxes, the life we built by hand. I pulled into the drive and sat a minute to gather myself for the quiet inside. The front door key clicked the way it always had. I hung my keys on the hook Linda installed years ago. Funny how a small task can feel heavy when the house is this silent. No humming, no TV, just 4 decades worth of memories settling in the walls. I loosened my tie and dropped into my old brown leather chair, the one Linda swore clashed with her floral curtains. She wanted to redecorate forever, and I kept saying I was too busy with the business. Now those curtains will hang there forever. Our wedding photo smiled from the mantel, Linda at 23, glowing in her grandma's dress. We married right here in Davenport and promised each other everything we had. I kept that promise, maybe too well. The memories came on their own. Ryan taking his first steps across this very floor, little hands reaching for Linda's arms. Birthday parties with paper streamers because store-bought was out of reach. Linda pulling doubles at the diner while I got Carter construction off the ground. She never complained. Not when I worked 16-hour days. Not when dinner was boxed mac and cheese for weeks at a stretch. "We're building Ryan's future," she'd whisper after he fell asleep between us, back before he had his own room. I found her Bible on the nightstand, ribbons still stuck in Psalms. A note slipped out in her careful hand. "My dearest Tom, please don't let Ryan forget us. We gave him everything we had. I hope it was enough. All my love, L." My fingers trembled. In the closet, I found a box she'd tucked away, Ryan's report cards from kindergarten through college. Every A+ circled, every teacher comment underlined. She wrote little notes on the edges. So proud. Our bright boy. The graduation photos hurt the most. Ryan in cap and gown. A degree paid for with Linda's overtime and my weekend jobs. The price tag? $200,000. His grin didn't hint at what it cost us. I pulled out a calculator. The numbers piled up. Down payment for his house, $350,000. His wedding to Brittany, $75,000. His first car, $35,000. Grad school he wanted and never finished, $48,000. The emergency loans for vacations, shopping sprees, business ideas that fizzled. Linda's mug still sat in the dishwasher. Her romance paperback lay open on the nightstand, waiting for eyes that would never come back. Get well cards covered the counter. Messages from people who cared more about her final months than her own son had. The total climbed and climbed. Ryan's tally over 15 years, $847,000. Nearly $1 million of our lives, handed over with love and blind hope. I thought about my own dad, a hard man who gave me nothing but an expectation. Stand on your own feet. Build your own character, he said. Maybe he was right. Darkness fell, and I didn't turn on the lights. A car pulled into my drive and idled. I didn't get up. If Ryan wanted to talk, he knew where to find me. The engine revved and rolled away. At 6 a.m., I sat at my mahogany desk with file folders laid out in tidy rows. Ryan, education. Ryan, house. Ryan, wedding. My coffee went cold while I opened the calculator app and started a reckoning Linda had been too kind to demand. My reading glasses bounced the computer's glow as I pulled up bank records. 15 years of transfers labeled to Ryan, or Ryan emergency. Paper rustled in a house that was still getting used to being just mine. College tuition first, for years at $52,000 each. I remembered writing those checks while Linda added extra shifts to keep our own lights on, and our son partied his way through Iowa State. Then grad school, $48,000 for an MBA he never finished, quitting to find himself in Europe. That Europe trip? $35,000. Just until I get established, Dad. The house nearly broke us. Ryan at 25, Brittany's ring flashing under our kitchen light. We found the perfect place, but we're short on the down payment. $350,000. I co-signed the mortgage and put up every penny of the down payment. Family helps family, Ryan said, hugging me hard. I'll pay you back when the business takes off. What business? He'd been on my payroll since graduation, drawing a salary he hadn't earned and picking up skills I thought he'd come to respect. A small notebook slid from the file, Linda's quiet ledger of sacrifices. Anniversary dinner canceled. $5,000 for Ryan's car repair. Put off my doctor visit. Ryan's wedding costs higher than expected. Buy generic to make the budget work. Send cash for Brittany's birthday. The last line cut me raw. We gave Ryan everything. I hope he remembers us kindly. The calculator landed on the same number, $847,000. My father sent me into the world with $20 and a handshake. I built everything from nothing. Ryan treated it like an inheritance he could spend while we were still alive. Last Christmas, he called my company the family business, like he'd built it with me, not walked into a cushy chair. Brittany nodded along, already spending profits I'd sweated for across 4 decades. My business brain finally kicked in. This was a problem that needed solving, not a grief that needed soothing. I'd been too emotional, making excuses Linda had whispered about in private. Maybe we're doing too much for him, she'd said after the latest emergency. Her picture watched from the corner of the desk while I closed the files. I stood, feeling something harder than grief settle in my chest. You were right to worry, I told her softly. The phone lit up with Ryan's name. I let it ring 4 times, then answered. Hey, Dad. Hope you're doing okay after yesterday. His voice had that cheerful shine he used when he was about to ask for something. He didn't mention the funeral, didn't ask how I was holding up without Linda. I'm managing, I said, keeping my voice flat while I stared at the columns of numbers. Good. Listen, we ran into a few surprise costs. Brittany's party was incredible, but we might have gone a little big. You know how it is, you only turn 32 once. I heard Brittany in the background. Tell him about the band. So we hired this amazing live band, took everyone to that new steakhouse downtown, got Brittany a beautiful diamond bracelet. She deserves the best. But now the credit cards are due, and we're looking at, like, $15,000 we have to cover right away. $15,000, I repeated, doing the math. Loan number 47 in 15 years. I buried my wife yesterday. Today my son wanted cash for a party. So can you wire it to my account? Brittany's really stressed, and you know how she gets. I let the silence stretch. I glanced at Linda's photo, then at the neat stacks tallying up Ryan's cost to our marriage. No. Silence. Then, what do you mean, no? Is your bank down? I mean, no, Ryan. I'm not sending you any more money. The cheerful tone dropped. Are you seriously saying no to me right now? After everything we've just been through? Everything we've been through. As if he'd suffered through Linda's funeral instead of hosting a party. You're 35 years old, Ryan. So what? Parents help their kids. It's not like you can't afford it. Brittany's voice spiked in the background. Tell him we already spent it. I said no. The word felt strange on my tongue, the first time I'd ever denied him. This is unbelievable, he snapped. Mom just died, and you're going to be petty about money? She'd want you to help us. The manipulation rolled out smooth from long practice. How many times had that line worked? I took a breath. Your mother wanted you at her funeral. His breathing went rough. Fine. We'll figure it out. Max out more cards. Ask Brittany's parents. Whatever. But don't expect us to come around much if this is how you're going to act. That threat had worked for 35 years. His presence as a reward for my money. His absence as punishment for saying no. I understand, I said calmly. You what? I understand. Take care, Ryan. I hung up before he could answer. For the first time in decades, I ended a conversation with my son on my own terms. I opened my laptop to Ryan's employee file. Tomorrow, we'd have a different kind of talk. In the office, where I was the boss, not the father who'd forgotten the difference. If he wanted to treat me like a stranger, I'd meet him as one, professionally. At 7:30 a.m., I walked into Carter Construction 2 hours before Ryan's usual arrival. His smiling headshot hung on the management wall. Today, I saw entitlement where I once saw potential. In my office, his personnel file spread out like a case exhibit. 8 years of missed deadlines, contractor complaints, padded expenses, delayed projects because lunches ran long and site visits ran short, clients cooled by his casual approach to commitments. I'd covered for all of it. Family loyalty, Linda's gentle reminders that he was still learning. The documents told the truth. Any other employee would have been fired years ago. At 8:45, I called in Erin Collins from HR. She didn't look surprised when I explained what I was doing. She'd been documenting his slip-ups for months. I'll prepare the termination packet, she said quietly. Do you want security on standby? Yes. Standard protocol. I practiced my delivery in the office mirror. Steady voice, clean facts, no emotions or explanations beyond what policy required. He'd walk in as my son the employee and walk out as an ex-employee. At 9:30, Ryan strolled in late, joking with the receptionist about recovering from Brittany's party. His laughter echoed while people glanced at my closed door. He lingered at the coffee machine, clueless. Ryan, please come to my office, I said over the intercom. Sure, Dad. Let me grab my coffee, he called back, casual as ever. Now, Ryan. Silence. Then his footsteps, slower than usual. He opened my door and saw Erin with a folder. His grin faltered. What's with the formal setup? He tried to keep his voice light, but I heard the wobble. I stayed seated, hands folded. Ryan, your employment with Carter Construction is terminated effective immediately. He laughed once short. Good one, Dad. What's this really about? I slid the papers across the desk. Review these and sign where marked. He picked them up like they were hot. His eyes skimmed the language, and his face went pale. You can't be serious. This is our family business. This decision is based on performance and conduct, I said evenly. Your position is eliminated due to restructuring. This is about yesterday's call, isn't it? His voice cracked. Look, I'm sorry about the money. We can fix it. Security will escort you to gather your personal items. His disbelief flipped to desperation. Mom wouldn't want this. You know she wouldn't. He leaned in, reaching for the old guilt lever. I pressed the button. Tony Garcia appeared in the doorway, professional and calm. Ryan flushed as he realized this was real. People had gathered in the hall, watching the boss's son get walked out like anyone else. Dad, please, he whispered, clutching his coffee mug and a framed picture of Brittany. Think about what this means. I have, I said, meeting his eyes for the first time. From my window, I watched him load a small box into his car. His shoulders shook. Anger, grief, I couldn't tell. When he looked back at the building, I turned away. Aaron returned with the signed forms. Access codes are changed. His computer logins are disabled. I took his photo off the management wall myself and set it face down in a drawer. The empty spot looked cleaner somehow. A soft knock at my door. "Mr. Carter, someone to see you." No appointment. Designer heels snapped across the lobby tile. Brittany Carter blew past reception, hair perfect, eyes blazing. Ryan trailed behind her, embarrassed and beaten down. Nothing like the man who came in an hour earlier. "How dare you humiliate Ryan like this?" she yelled from my doorway, pointing hard. I stayed seated and didn't flinch. Ryan tried to step between us. "Brittany, let me." She ignored him. "We have bills, a lifestyle to maintain. This business belongs to Ryan, too." "This is a private workplace," I said calmly. "You need to leave." Her face turned a deeper red. "We're owed severance. At least 6 months. Ryan worked here 8 years. You owe us." "Dad, please," Ryan tried. "Can we talk alone?" "No," Brittany cut him off. "He needs to hear this. I know the law." "Ryan was an at-will employee," I said evenly. "No severance is required by law or contract." Brittany's words went for the jugular. "Linda would be ashamed of you. You're having a breakdown, aren't you? Just a bitter old man taking it out on us." Ryan went white. "Brittany, stop." My jaw tightened, but I held steady. I'd expected this. Manipulation dressed up as outrage. Ryan tried again. "Dad, I know I messed up with the funeral. I'm sorry, but firing me won't bring Mom back. Think about the family, future grandkids." I looked at the man who had my eyes, but not my values. "What family?" Brittany upped the pressure. "We'll sue for our share of Linda's estate. Ryan gets half. We know about the life insurance." "Linda left everything to me," I said simply. "That's impossible. We're calling a lawyer." I pressed the button again. Tony returned with another guard. A few employees had drifted close, drawn by the noise. "I'm not leaving," Brittany barked as security stepped in. "This is theft. This is abuse." She fought and shouted the whole way through the lobby. Ryan's humiliation hit a new low watching his wife get escorted out of a place he used to run. When the lobby quieted, Ryan stood in my doorway alone. He tried one last time, voice barely above a whisper. "I'm all the family you have left." He meant to break me with that. Instead, it cleared my head. I looked at the stranger wearing my son's face and said what he needed to hear. "No, you're someone who used to be my son." His face crumpled. For a heartbeat, I saw the little boy who used to run to me after school. Then it was gone. He left without another word. I told my team in a calm, brief meeting that this was a personal matter and business wouldn't suffer. They nodded. Most had seen his performance for what it was. "Please make sure Mrs. Carter is not allowed back in the building," I told security. Alone in my office, my hands shook for a moment. The hardest part was finished. I turned to Linda's photo. "I hope you understand." Back at my desk, I searched for estate attorneys. Time to move on the next step. I booked an afternoon appointment with David Brooks, then noticed Ryan's birthday on my calendar for next month. I deleted it. Brooks and Associates took the top floor of a downtown tower. At 2:30 p.m., I walked into the reception area with a leather briefcase holding Linda's will, the insurance policies, and the papers that would change our family's future. The receptionist knew me and led me straight to David's corner office. Afternoon sun poured across rows of law books and thick case files. David stood to greet me. We'd been friends for 2 decades. He'd handled Linda's will, my corporate filings, plenty of sensitive work. "How are you holding up, Tom?" he asked gently. I passed on the coffee and Saturday. "I need to change my estate plan." He nodded. "Of course. Updating beneficiaries after Linda's passing is standard." "No." I opened the briefcase and set out the documents. "I'm cutting Ryan out completely." He blinked, absorbing it. "Tom, I need to understand why." I told him. Ryan skipping the funeral, the exact words about Brittany's birthday. David's jaw tightened as I spoke. As Linda's friend and our attorney, he understood the size of that betrayal. "I want a brand new will," I said. "Everything goes to the Linda Carter Memorial Foundation." David leaned forward. "I'm obligated to make sure you're making this decision clearly." "I'm clearer than I've ever been." I described the plan: scholarships for kids who need a hand, funding cancer research, all the causes Linda loved. Ryan is to be explicitly excluded, along with any future descendants. He took notes while I laid out the structure. moving company assets to an irrevocable trust so nothing could be clawed back in a lawsuit, me serving as trustee while I'm alive, the foundation owning it after I'm gone. We'll also update every insurance beneficiary, David said, writing quickly. This is thorough. I decided to sell our house, with the proceeds to the foundation. Linda's jewelry would be auctioned for charity. One exception, her wedding ring would be buried with me when my time comes. What about Ryan's childhood keepsakes? He asked. Donate them. I'm removing Ryan from my life, piece by piece. He did his duty, checked my capacity and state of mind. My answers were steady and specific. He shifted from worried friend to impressed professional. We held the signing with 2 firm witnesses. My signature looked calm next to decisions that would reshape everything. David explained the documents took effect immediately. Ryan was fully disinherited. I want him to receive formal notice, I said. We completed the rest. Power of attorney changes removing Ryan, medical directives excluding him from decisions, a living will with clear instructions. David documented my competence thoroughly. Tomorrow I'd go to the banks and update every account, removing Ryan from retirement and investment beneficiaries. David offered to coordinate. Planning the foundation brought me a kind of peace I hadn't felt since Linda got sick. I named David a trustee, sketched the board, and picked the first scholarship focus. Linda loved education. Putting her name on scholarships felt like setting her light on a hill. Linda would be proud, David said softly when we finished. She always believed in helping people get ahead. For the first time in days, I felt true satisfaction instead of cold resolve. This wasn't revenge. It was justice. We shook hands by the elevator. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Ryan, his first hints that reality had arrived. I deleted the voicemails and headed for the car. Next phase. The Davenport Country Club lobby smelled like leather and polish, familiar after 15 years of monthly board meetings. Crystal chandeliers tossed light across portraits of people who built this town the hard way. 12 of us gathered around the long table, shuffling through routine business. Richard Bennett, our board president, came over with honest sympathy. Tom, the memorial service was beautiful. Linda would have liked it. Thank you for the flowers, I said. Diane Porter, Linda's sister and a longtime member, joined us. I kept looking for Ryan. Where was he? The question I knew was coming. I paused, then chose the truth over courtesy. He decided not to come to his mother's funeral. Shock rippled across the room. Diane's face went white. What do you mean, decided? I repeated Ryan's exact words about Brittany's birthday taking priority. Disgust showed on faces around the table. Their values were clear, and Ryan had stomped on them. Richard's wife, Carol, must have overheard. Within minutes, she was on the phone. The story hit the Bridge Club by lunch, and then raced through Davenport's small, sharp grapevine. I went home, unaware of the storm. The next morning brought the first wave for Brittany. Her yoga instructor asked her to leave mid-class. We prefer members with family values, she said coolly. Ryan's country club lunch invitation evaporated with a polite call. Their regular table at Romano's stayed booked. Brittany's confusion turned to anger as the pattern became obvious. Saturday delivered Ryan's worst moment. His golf foursome bailed with thin excuses. The pro shop manager suggested he might be happier elsewhere. He walked to his car alone and finally understood everybody knew. At the upscale boutique, Brittany's favorite clerk greeted her with ice. Her new credit application needed review. The manager suggested she try another store. Interviews Ryan had lined up were canceled. Old contacts stopped replying. His Chamber of Commerce lunch ended short. People knew the funeral story before he sat down. The last straw came at Elite Salon, where Brittany's appointment was suddenly canceled. She overheard women murmuring about her heartless husband and fled in tears. The society column made a pointed note about the notable absence at Linda's service. Folks at church frowned openly. Former friends dodged them at the grocery store. Ryan's explanations went nowhere. His claims that I exaggerated didn't land. Davenport made up its mind. Family first, respect for the dead, basic decency. Ryan broke all 3. The town honored Linda by closing its doors to the people who dishonored her. During breakfast, my banker called. Mr. Carter, Ryan and Brittany's mortgage is 30 days past due. You're still guaranteeing the loan, correct? I'd like to come in tomorrow to discuss changes, I said. Financial pressure would finish what social pressure started. At 9 a.m., I walked into First National's marble lobby. Stephen Parker's corner office looked out over the Mississippi, barges moving freight like always. Stephen shuffled through Ryan's file, mortgage, loans, guarantees, paper proof of a dependency that was ending. Tom, thanks for coming on short notice. The mortgage is now 60 days delinquent. Total past due is $18,400. I folded my hands. You'll be asking me to honor the guarantee. He nodded. As you've done the last 3 months. I'm withdrawing my guarantee effective immediately. He blanched. I don't understand. You've backed this loan for 8 years. I slid across documents David Brooks had prepared. 30 days notice as required. Stephen phoned legal while I watched traffic cross the bridge. Linda and I loved walking. The bank's attorney confirmed my right to withdraw. Stephen swallowed. We'll have to begin foreclosure proceedings. I understand. Please move quickly. Across town, Ryan trudged through his 10th interview in 2 weeks. The interviewer's eyes looked through him, and he knew how it would end. Thanks for your time. We'll be in touch. Which meant never. He slumped into his aging Toyota. The BMW had been repossessed last month. That afternoon, Brittany tried to buy a simple tube of mascara. Her platinum card was declined. There must be a mistake, she told the clerk, cheeks burning. The call to the credit company confirmed it. Your co-signer has withdrawn the guarantee. The account is suspended pending full payment. Heads turned as she argued. The truth was crystal. I'd pulled every safety net. They came home to a dark house. The power company shut off service for $1,200 past due. When Ryan called to negotiate, the rep noticed he'd been terminated from his job and cut the conversation short. They spent their first night by candlelight, getting a crash course in reality. Brittany paced the living room, heels tapping, blaming Ryan for wrecking their life. He tried to call me vindictive. Fix this or I'm gone, she said finally. Desperate credit applications were denied in seconds. The debt-to-income math didn't work without a paycheck. Brittany's cards were maxed out. For the first time, they said the word bankruptcy out loud and meant it. They held a garage sale. Wedding gifts that cost friends hundreds went for $20. Old neighbors drove by and didn't stop. Brittany watched strangers carry off her jewelry. Ryan sold his golf clubs to a teenager. The BMW's repo in broad daylight brought out half the block. Ryan emptied the glove box under the tow truck driver's bored stare. Brittany screamed, and curtains twitched all up and down the street. That evening I drove by and took in the mess. This wasn't cruelty. It was consequence. Linda always said actions have results. Ryan was finally learning. When he called, begging to meet because he had something important to say, I agreed to Morrison Park, the place I taught him to ride a bike 30 years back when he still looked at me like a hero. I hung up, glanced at a picture of little Ryan wobbling along on 2 wheels, and set it face down. 6 months after the bank meeting, the county held the foreclosure auction on the courthouse steps. I watched from across the street in my black sedan as 1247 Maple Avenue, Ryan and Brittany's dream home, went up for sale. The auctioneer droned through the legal description while a handful of investors gathered. Ryan and Brittany stood apart, her tears catching the morning sun. Opening bid, $280,000, the auctioneer called. A woman in a navy suit raised her hand. Ryan tried to size her up, whispering to Brittany. The bids climbed to $315,000 with only 2 players left, the woman in navy and a local contractor. When my attorney, David Brooks, arrived and gave the woman a small nod, I saw Ryan's suspicion turn into dread. That's my dad's lawyer, he told Brittany, loud enough for bystanders to hear. He wouldn't. He couldn't, she started. Ryan tried to approach the bidder, but security held him back. 317, the woman said. Going once, going twice, sold. Ryan's knees buckled. Brittany screamed, this is our home. The gavel didn't care. I stepped out of my car and climbed the courthouse steps. Ryan saw me and finally understood the 6-month plan, the guarantee withdrawal, the timing, the bid match to the mortgage balance. Every piece done with business precision. The woman in navy introduced herself to the clerk as Aaron Collins, acting for Collins Holdings LLC. Ryan stared, furious and helpless. He stumbled toward me, voice shaking. How could you do this to us? I didn't, I said evenly. The bank did. He pointed toward the house and tried to make it about Linda's favorite garden and what she would have wanted. Linda's not here to see what you've become, I answered. Brittany lunged, yelling about elder abuse and incompetence. David Brooks calmly took notes while security kept her away. The scene showed everyone exactly who they were. 2 weeks later, a moving truck looked laughably small for the life they thought they had. Brittany tossed clothes into suitcases. Ryan wrapped Linda's crystal vase, the last gift that tethered him to his mother. Neighbors watched and didn't help. The social exile was complete. That night, Brittany dropped the ultimatum. I can't live like this. She admitted she'd been talking to her ex, the one who owns a restaurant chain. I married into a wealthy family, not this. Her last words cut clean. Your father was right about us. Ryan spent his final night in the empty place, walking room to room through ghosts of better days. In a kitchen drawer, he found one of Linda's old notes. Ryan, remember, we love you. For the first time, I think the tears were real. He finally understood what he'd lost. Aaron handed me the keys with a quiet smile. I decided to renovate the place and donate it to a family that needed it. Linda would have liked that kind of justice. A cold November evening, 3 months after the auction, Ryan showed up at my door at 7:30. He hovered at the bell for a full minute while I watched from the living room, deciding whether to answer. When I opened the door, I didn't invite him in. He looked rough, unshaven, wrinkled shirt, jeans hanging off him. He'd aged 5 years and 6 months. He started a speech he'd practiced. He'd messed up. He'd learned. He got what mattered now. He said he was living in a studio over a laundromat, working at a gas station for minimum wage, and that Brittany had left for the restaurant guy. I've learned my lesson, he said. I want to be the son Mom wanted. I knew every trick in that book. When is your mother's birthday? I asked. He hesitated, then guessed. June 15th. What was her favorite flower? Roses. Linda loved daisies, I said. My last illusion fell away. He never really knew her. He got frustrated. The old tone slipped back in. This is ridiculous. Just tell me what you want me to say. It all came out then. Eviction notices, promises to pay me back, reminders that I had money and family should help. Same playbook. His final card was Linda. Mom would be heartbroken to see us like this. She always believed in second chances. I miss her too, Dad. We both did. For a second, I wavered, because Linda's heart was big. Then I remembered what she'd feared most. You want to know what your mother really thought? I brought out Linda's journal and read her words. I'm worried Ryan only loves our money. What if we raised a son who can't love? He stood there stunned. Linda died knowing who you are, I said quietly. She changed her will before she passed. She left you nothing because she knew you'd waste it. His mask finally dropped. He threatened to contest the will, called me senile. His last line, I hope you die alone in this house, told me all I needed to know. I stepped back and closed the door. He pounded a while. I made tea. When his car pulled away, I sat in Linda's favorite chair with her journal in my hands, and, for the first time since she left, I felt at peace. I looked at our wedding photo and whispered, It's finished, honey. A year later, on a warm May morning, I walked through Riverside Cemetery with fresh daisies for Linda. Birds sang from the oaks. Spring flowers lined the paths. I felt healthier than I had in years. Kneeling by her stone, I told her about the Linda Carter Memorial Foundation's first year, 20 scholarships to deserving students, $200,000 to cancer research in her name, and a community center dedication plan for her birthday. Ryan works at Joe's gas station on Route 6. I added, just the facts. His divorce finalized. Brittany remarried the restaurant owner. Ryan lived with the consequences. I didn't feel joy about his pain. I felt justice. On my way home, I stopped at Morning Glory Diner. Ryan was behind the counter in a stained uniform. Our eyes met. His shame filled the space between us as I ordered coffee, treating him like any other worker. How are you doing, Dad? He asked quietly, sounding more humble than I'd ever heard him. I'm well. I know sorry doesn't fix it, he said. I get it now. It was never about the money. You wanted me to love you, not your wallet. Your mother wanted that too, I said. For once, his tears seemed honest. I did what I had to do, I told him. Linda would have approved. I don't regret any of it. I know, he said. I earned all of it. Yes, I said. You did. He asked if there was any way back. I answered the truth. I don't know. Maybe. You'll have to prove it. Not with words, by how you live. I told him about my new rhythm. Volunteering at the community center, Sunday dinners with the Johnsons, whose daughter got a scholarship, and evenings spent with Julie, a kind widow from church I'd started seeing. My life had purpose again, and it was full of real friends. Visiting Amanda Reed, our first scholarship recipient, gave me a kind of joy I didn't expect. Her thank you note to Linda on our foundation website still chokes me up. Driving past Ryan's old house, I saw the Martinez family had turned it into a home bursting with life. Mr. Martinez waved from the garden Linda used to tend. Kids laughed in the yard where Ryan once played. The house finally felt like what Linda wanted it to be. That night, I cooked a simple dinner in the kitchen I once shared with Linda and set one plate without feeling lonely. My phone rang, Julie calling to talk about weekend plans. I smiled, real and easy, for the first time in a long while. At sunset, I clipped Linda's rose bushes and felt the quiet happiness of a man who fought for what was right and won. I knew I'd honored her. I slept early and slept well, dreaming of Linda smiling at me and saying, "You did the right thing, Tom. I'm proud of you." Justice was done. Love demanded hard choices, and I made them. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe, and share your thoughts down in the comments. To hear the next one, click the box on the left. Thanks for listening.